द्वारा अपनी चेतना को शुद्ध करूं। उनके चरण कमलों में अनुराग ऐसी सिद्धि है जो समस्त मनोरथों को पूर्ण करती है। वे मेरी बंद आँखों को खोलते हैं तथा मेरे हृदय में दिव्य ज्ञान भरते हैं। जन्म जन्मांतरों वे मेरे प्रभु हैं। वे प्रेम भक्ति प्रदान करते हैं और अविद्या का नाश करते हैं। वैदिक शास्त्र उनके चरित्र का गान करते हैं। हे श्रील प्रभुपाद, करुणा सिंधु तथा पतित आत्माओं के मित्र, आप सबके गुरु एवं सभी लोगों के जीवन हैं। हे श्रील प्रभुपाद, मुझ पर दया कीजिए तथा मुझे अपने श्री चरणों की छाया प्रदान कीजिए। आपका यश तीनों लोकों में फैला हुआ है। कृष्ण कृपा मूर्ति अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की।
राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन, जमुना तीर बनचारी, जमुना तीर बनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन, यमुना तीर बनचारी, यमुना तीर बनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी भगवान की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तमंड की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, गुरु द्वारका धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द Lord, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द Lord। थैंक यू वेरी मच। ना So just one day before Rath Yatra, there is a festival in Jagannath Puri, which is called Gundicha Marjan. Gundicha Marjan, from the Jagannath temple,
about 2 miles away, there is another temple house, not exactly temple, where the deity Jagannath goes during this Rath Yatra festival from the temple to that Gundicha house. And then the deities remain there for 1 week and then comes back. And during that 1 week, there are many festivals. As I told you in this morning, this Jagannath is proceeding toward Vrindavan. Radharani is inviting Krishna. Krishna, after his childhood, Pauganda Leela, he was called by his father, his real father. Practically he was called for killing Kamsa, his maternal uncle, who was giving trouble to the whole Yadu dynasty, and everyone was waiting for Krishna. So Krishna appeared and immediately he was transferred to a friend's house by his father. Vasudev is Kshatriya and Nanda Maharaj is a Vaishya. Kshatriya business is royal family and Vaishya, they are agriculturists, traders, Krishi Goraksha and protection of cows. These three business livelihood of the Vaishya. Krishi Goraksha Vanijyam. Krishi means agriculture. And Goraksha, cow protection. This is Vedic civilization. The section of people, they are engaged in different activities. Not that a man is working as a carpenter and is called, come on, you have to go to Vietnam to fight. This is not very scientific. He has been trained up as a carpenter and now he is called to fight. That is not perfect division. The fighting is required. But there must be a class fully trained up for fighting. That is Kshatriya. There must be a class of men simply for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. There must be a class fully for business, cow protection, agriculture. That is also required. Nothing is neglected. Just like in our body, there are 4 parts: the mouth, the arms, the belly, and the legs. Everything is required for proper upkeep of the body. Not that you ask the mouth to walk or ask the leg to eat. How it is that? The modern civilization is defective. They do not know how to maintain society. There is therefore no peace. Especially there is want of brain. Crazy. Just like throughout the whole body, the head is the most important part of the body. If you cut your hand, you can live. But if you cut your head, you cannot live. then whole thing is gone. Similarly, at the present moment, the society is headless, a dead body, or head cracked, crazy. There is head, nonsense. Nonsense. What is the use of nonsense? Therefore, there is a great necessity of creating a class who will act as brain and head. That is Krishna conscious movement. The whole human society is suffering for want of good brain. Created a nonsense democracy. A carpenter is called to fight. A cow slaughterer is called to preside over the meeting. What is this? One must be fit for the business. If you want to make one king, he must be just like royal ideas, how always thinking of the welfare of the citizen. Just like Yudhishthira Maharaj. The whole business was how the people will be happy. When Parikshit Maharaj was born, the child, it is the Vedic system. As soon as the child is born, immediately expert Brahmins, astrologers are called. Automatically that is called Jatukriya. There is a function. There are 10 kinds of functions. From the point of begetting a child up to the point of death, there are sanskaras or reformatory process. By that process, a human being is made up perfect. That is called Dasavida Sanskar, 10 kinds of processes. This Upanan, this initiation, offering the sacred thread, that is also out of those 10 processes. The beginning of the process is called Garbhadhan, begetting a child. It is not sex enjoyment. It is a process by which you produce nice child. If you produce nice children, then the world is peaceful. But if you produce cats and dogs, how can we expect peace and prosperity? Therefore, that is a process, Garbhadhan Sanskar. In this way, the Vedic system is the perfect process for creating civilized humanity. So, that is another chapter. Our present meeting is concerned with the Ratha Yatra. So, Krishna, he is born of a Kshatriya father. He is not born, but he appeared as the son. God is never born, unborn. Therefore, the Mayavadi philosopher, they mistake to know Krishna. They think that Krishna is born, then how he can be God? But actually Krishna was not born from the womb of his mother. He appeared in 4 hands before his mother. And the mother was afraid that my brother, Kansa, was awaiting to kill God. And now God is here in 4 hands, immediately he will kill. The mother forgets that my son, if he is God, how he can be killed? But the mother's affection is always like that. Just like Krishna, when he was going to attack a demon as a boy, Jashoda mother Jashoda would ask her husband, Nanda Maharaj, why do you allow this boy to go out? Why don't you flog him? So that is mother's affection. The mother, Jasoda mother, she does not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Then her motherly affection will be checked. Therefore she was, by Yoga Maya, she was always covered. Although Krishna playing child, just like a common child, at the same time showing that he is the Supreme Personality of God. He was eating clay. Some friends complained to Mother Jasoda that you gave him nice food stuff and he is eating clay. So Mother called him, Krishna, you are eating clay? Krishna said, no, Mother, they are all liars. Oh, your elder brother BARODA is also saying, oh, he is angry upon me. He is angry upon me, therefore he is also speaking lie. Then the boy still stressed, no, Mother, he has eaten clay. We have seen. So Mother said, all right, open your mouth, I will see. The Krishna opened his mouth and she saw the whole material cosmic manifest. Not only Jasoda, thousands of Jasoda and thousands of planets, suns, moons and everything saw. The mother's thought, Jasoda, must be something jugglery. All right, forget. Don't do it again. This is Krishna. That he is playing the part of a perfect child. Mother Jasoda ordering, open your mouth, I want to see. Yes, Mother, just see. And when he saw his mouth, the mother could not. That is God. That he is by being obliged by the devotee, he is playing the part of a child, at the same time maintaining his supremacy as the Supreme Personality of God. That is Krishna. Not that by mystic power one becomes God. No, God is God always. When on the lap of his mother he is God. And when he is on the lap of his mother, Putana came to kill him. Said, Krishna sucked her breast and life also, but gave him the position of mother, because Krishna is so good that he did not take the bad side. Krishna, how can he be envious? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is his part and parcel. Therefore, he cannot be envious to anyone. He is always kind to everyone. So this incident, that Krishna, Putana came to kill him by smearing poison on her breast. She thought that the child will suck my breast and immediately die. The child sucked the breast as well as her life. But Krishna thought that this demon, although came to me with the purpose to kill me, but I have been used as a child and she has become my mother. So she must get the position of my mother. This is Krishna's mind. So, try to understand Krishna philosophy very nicely. What is God? There are so many fictitious rogues, rascals, they are presenting themselves God. Try to understand what is God. Don't be misled. Krishnastu Bhagavan Sam. There is no other God except Krishna. Therefore Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mam ekam, only unto me. Surrender. And he has proved himself that he is God. there are many so-called gods, but they have not proved that they are God. Oh, no, God is one, and that is Krishna. So this Krishna, Lord Krishna, when he was called by his father, people generally did not know that Krishna is Vasudev's son, but later on it was disclosed by talking one after another. Then, when the fact was disclosed, then Kansa arranged for a wrestling match, and Krishna was called to fight. That we'll read in our Krishna book. It's a long story. Similarly, Krishna went to his father's house and he came to Kurukshetra in the chariot. This is Ratha Yatra. And Radharani and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, their only business was, after Krishna departed from Vrindavan to Mathura, and he never returned. Once he returned, so Mother Jasoda, the cowherd boys and the gopis, they lost their life and vital force. So they were simply crying and weeping. That was their business. So Krishna sent sometimes Uddhava to pacify them. Then I am coming very soon after finishing my business. So when they got this opportunity that Krishna has come to Kurukshetra with his brother, sister, father, so let us go and see. So they went to Kurukshetra to see Krishna. Whenever they got some opportunity, they wanted to see. Just like these cowherds boys, when there was battle of Kurukshetra near Delhi, Vrindavan is not far away from Delhi. It is about 90 miles. So they went to see Krishna in a charioteer fighting dress. They were astonished. They thought that Krishna is our friend, cowherd boy. How is that? He is in the chariot fighting. So they became astonished. So this is the pastimes of Vrindavan. So similarly, when the inhabitants of Vrindavan went to see Lord Krishna, Jagannath, Krishna means Jagannath. Jagat means this world. And Natha means master or proprietor. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Jagatavasam Sarvalokamahesar. I am the proprietor of all the planets. Therefore he is Jagannath. Jagannath means the proprietor of all the world, all the planets. So the Vrindavan inhabitants went to see Krishna because their life was Krishna. They did not know anything except Krishna. But that was the opportunity. So it was the request of Radharani to Krishna, my dear Krishna, you are the same Krishna, I am the same Radharani. We are meeting, but we are not meeting in the same place. Here, you are just like a royal king with chariots, with soldiers, with your ministers, secretaries, and there in Vrindavan, you are a cowherd boy, and we used to meet in the jungles, in the bushes. So I want to take you there. Then I will be happy. So that sentiment was expressed by Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya's worship was in the mood of Radharan. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikiti Allahadini Shakti Rasma Ekatmanavapi Pura Deho Vedo Gatoto. We try to understand Krishna philosophy. It is the sublime philosophy and I want to say culture. Yeah. If you are those who are fortunate, they have come to this Krishna consciousness movement. Their life is successful, no doubt about it. So, this philosophy that Krishna, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikiti, the love affairs of Radha and Krishna, what is this? Is this a play like the young girl and young boy? Of course, it is just like that. It appears, and actually it is so. But it is not this play of this material world of a young boy and young girl. No. It is the pastime of the Supreme Lord with his Allahadini potency. Allahadini. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikiti, Allahadini Shakti. Just like in this material world, there are three qualities: Satagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. Similarly, in the spiritual world, there are three, I am to say, potencies. These qualities are also potencies. Swami, Sandhini, and what is the other? Swami, Sandhini, Alladini. Swami, Sandhini, Alladini. So, the Alladini potency is Krishna. This has been very much scholarly discussed by Srila Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami presents this love affairs of Krishna and Radha very philosophically. His first question is, the Krishna is Parabrahma. Krishna is Parabrahma. That is accepted by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Param Dhama, Param Brahma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Parabrahma, the Supreme, absolute truth. Now, in this material world, there are different features of sense gratification. Satagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. So, the gopis and Krishna, whether they are a loving affairs or pastimes of this world, that is his question. Just like here, young boys and young girls meet together, they try to enjoy life. Whether Krishna's Leela, Krishna's pastimes with the gopis is the same thing. No. That is the philosophical presentation. He gives the reason that Krishna is Parabrahma. But here in this material world, we see that Parama Brahma, to become attached to Parabrahma or to realize Parabrahma, a person, an intelligent person, gives up everything within this world. That is the philosophy of Lord Shankaracharya. He says that this world is false. Param Brahma is Brahma Sattva Jagannath. So cultivate yourself to realize Parabrahma. And his process is sannyas. Give up, renounce this world. So Jiva Goswami puts forward this philosophy that if for Parabrahma realization one has to give up everything material, how Parabrahma can enjoy something material? This is the question. If for realizing Parabrahma, one has to give up everything material, and practically we are saying that, that's like Shankaracharya, their renunciation, their austerities, very, very severe. Shankaracharya will not accept anybody as eligible for advancing in spiritual culture without having accepted the renounced order of life, sannyas. First accept sannyas, then talk of absolute truth. That is a Shankar Sampradaya. We Vaishnava Sampradaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sampradaya, our process is little different, although we have nothing to do with this material world. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sampradaya gives facility that we can make the best use of this material world. That is the difference between the Shankar philosophy and Vaishnava philosophy. Shankar philosophy says that this world is false. We Vaishnava philosophers, we say, no, this world is not false, because it is emanation from the real, the absolute real. How it can be false? It has got its proper use. One who does not know its proper use, for them it is false. They are after something false. But those who know the value of this world, Harisambandhi Vastuna, everything has got some connection with the Supreme Lord. Ishavasa Sadvam. Everything is in connection or has relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is our philosophy. We don't say that this speaker, microphone, is false. Why it is false? The microphone is produced out of the energy of Krishna. This matter, this iron, or this wood, that is a production of Krishna's energy. And if Krishna is true, absolute true, then his energy is also true. And anything produced of his energy, that is also true. But as the energy is utilized for the energetic, similarly, anything produced by Krishna's energy should be utilized for it. That is our plan. So we don't say that false, we say reality. Therefore, in Krishna consciousness movement, we accept everything, but accept everything for service of Krishna, nothing for my sense getting. That is Krishna consciousness. We do not say that this world is false. Give up. Why? Our acharyas, Rupa Goswami says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Jatharam Upajanjat Nidbandhe Krishna Sambandhi Jukta Vairagam. You should not be attached with Krishna's property. The Kurmis are attached to the Krishna's property. They are trying to still unlawfully enjoy Krishna's property. That is Kurmi. And the Gyanis, so-called Gyanis, out of ignorance, trying to renounce Krishna's property. The Gyanis, they are very much proud that they are advancing knowledge and renouncing. But if somebody asks, sir, what you are renouncing? This world. All right. When this world became your property, that you are renouncing. When this world became your property, you renounce something which you possess. But if you do not possess something, what is the meaning of your renouncement? You came here empty-handed, you live here for some time and go away. So, in the beginning, you are not proprietor, and when you go away, you are not proprietor. Then what is the meaning of your renouncement? So that is the defect. So we don't renounce. We see that everything is given by Krishna to us. Tena tattena bhandita. Nothing belongs to me. Everything Krishna. Even my body, that is also Krishna. My mind, that is also Krishna. my thoughts, my speech, whatever I create, everything belongs to Krishna. This is Krishna philosophy. Actually, that is the fact. So this Jagannath Ratha Yatra is a part of this Krishna consciousness movement, because Lord Chaitanya preached this Krishna consciousness movement within 500 years. Of course, Krishna consciousness movement is not a new thing. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand it is 5,000 years old. And from Bhagavad Gita, we also understand that it is 5 million years old. But in the modern age, this Krishna consciousness movement, Hare Krishna movement, was started by Lord Chaitanya, and this Ratha Yatra is part of this movement. Therefore, we have introduced this Ratha Yatra festival in our society. And the boys and the girls, they are taking it very nicely, and it will go on. So, the Lord Chaitanya was taking the part of Radharani. When Radharani requested Krishna to come to Vrindavan, so when Lord Chaitanya was before the Ratha Yatra, he was thinking that I am taking Krishna to Vrindavan. That is his extent. I am taking Krishna to Vrindavan. So that function is observed yearly, and Krishna, Jagannath, goes to that Gundicha. So today is Gundicha Marjan. So Lord Chaitanya personally used to wash the whole temple along with his assistant. Hundreds of, at that time there was no hose pipe, but people used to bring water in big water pots. So when Lord Chaitanya wanted to wash the Gundicha Mandir, the king of Jagannath Puri, Maharaj Prataprudra, he was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So it was his open order to his officers that whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will ask for anything, it must be immediately supplied. So during this time, in those days there was no railway facilities 500 years ago. So people used to go on foot, especially from Bengal. And because he was staying in Odisha, there are many Uriya and Gaudiya. Practically, Lord Chaitanya's followers are the Bengalis and the Uriyas. They are generally. Because Lord Chaitanya appeared in Bengal and he made his residence in Odisha. Naturally, the people of these two provinces became his devotees in large number. Still in Odisha, there are many devotees as there are in Bengal. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was patronized from Maharaj Prataprudra, was very powerful king. He did not allow the Mohammedans to enter into Odisha. He was so powerful. At that time, whole India was occupied by the Pathans, but they could not enter in Odisha and in South India. So Maharaj Prataprudra was very powerful king, and at the same time he was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So his open order was that whenever and whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will ask anything, it must be supplied. So on this day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to wash that Gundicha Mandir with hundreds of his followers, and they were ordered to bring water from the nearest tank. There is one tank. If you go sometimes to Jagannath Puri, you'll see that place. So from that tank, hundreds of water pots were brought, and first of all, it was, what is called, sweeping. The sweeping process is first of all taken. And he wanted to see all the devotees, how much dust you have gathered. He'll see personally. Let me see what is the amount of your dust you have gathered by sweeping. Then I will understand that you are very hot. So then after it is very finely, twice, first of all once swept, then second time, not even a small particle grain should remain. That was his order.
From the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pastimes, the loving relationships between Lord Chaitanya and the devotees, that it was so sweet. I was able to just go beyond whatever limits I had before. And I was up all night and day practically. Just stopped to chant and to eat and sleep very little. And in fact, on one morning walk, Radha Vallabha had said to Prabhupada, there's one Mataji who is practically not eating or sleeping. She's just typing all day and night. And Prabhupada said, yes, she is running on spiritual energy. He was speaking about me, as he told me later.
So the 17 books got published. The last book came out probably on the last day of the 2-month cycle. And we called the secretary and we told him it's done. We gave up everything and somehow it happened. And this is a very happy time. Everybody's feeling that there's nothing we can't do now. We can spread this movement anywhere in the world. There was no limitation on anything. That's how we were all feeling. Not just the devotees who immediately were involved, but devotees all over the world were feeling that there are no material restraints or limitations. And so it was really a great moment for everybody to just expand their book distribution and their convincing people to join the temples. It was just one of those great times.
There was such a innocence, enthusiastic innocence that made everything very, very beautiful. And I just remember at all the programs, everyone would come with so much enthusiasm and excitement, all cleanly, freshly showered with beautiful fresh tilak. Prabhupada's presence was so powerful that he actually transformed us physically, not just in the heart. When I look at pictures in the BTG from that period, everybody looked very, very beautiful. So that was a very, very special time how he infused us. And actually, when I first came to the temple in Brooklyn, I was attracted by the love that the devotees oozed out. You know, they were so welcoming and everyone wanted to serve. It was like a privilege. Like even at the offerings, especially the 4 o'clock offering, there would be pies and cakes and cookies and ice creams. And if you stood there like 10 minutes before the offering or something, there would be like 15 women coming from different parts of the community with their dishes to be offered. It was like in the Stories of Krishna book. So Prabhupada's influence when he was here was like that. It just was very enlivening. And he was just directing us towards Krishna, really not towards himself. When I think on all the other gurus that I met before Prabhupada, no one directed you toward Krishna, they directed you towards them. That was the uniqueness of Prabhupada. And even now, after all these years, the other gurus are more so-called famous, really, than Prabhupada because they directed people towards them, whereas Prabhupada directed us toward Krishna and was very humble. Srila Prabhupada gave some wonderful classes. The one I remember the most was a class in the new temple room where Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, among thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, for self-realization. And out of many thousands of such men, only one may know me in truth. And so then Srila Prabhupada looked around at the temple, and the whole temple room was packed, and the whole balcony was packed. I was sitting up in the front of the balcony so I could see clearly. And Srila Prabhupada was looking at all of us, and he said, so does this mean that only a few of you are going to become Krishna conscious and be with Krishna? He said, no, every one of you can be with Krishna. Every one of you can know Krishna in truth. You have come to Krishna after past lives of making progress in spiritual life. But Srila Prabhupada was saying that when we come to Krishna consciousness, we take up where we left off in our past lives. So someone might come and they might struggle with the very simple things, even after years. And someone might come and they might very quickly become a very advanced preacher or have wonderful spiritual realizations right away. And Srila Prabhupada explained that that's because of past development in past lifetimes. But Srila Prabhupada was saying that every one of you can be with Krishna.
Prabhupada was coming to Los Angeles. We lived in San Francisco. I went down with Jayananda and would spend a few days in LA while Prabhupada was there. And Prabhupada had the habit, of course, of coming down those stairs and then coming out that side door and then getting into his car and going for a walk. And so the devotees would kind of hang out there just so they could get a glimpse of Prabhupada walking to the car. So I got there early one day. I wanted to be right there in front and see Prabhupada. I was there. Nobody else was coming. It was cold, and I was scantily dressed. Just my dhoti and no shoes. And so I'm thinking, where is everybody? This is going to be fantastic. Prabhupada can't miss me. I'll be the only one here. He's going to come out and go on his walk. This is going to be so far up. But it started getting later and getting close to class time. I'm waiting out here. I'm not even going to get in the temple room, basically. So I finally think that, well, Prabhupada's not coming. I got to get over and get into the temple for class. So I start making my way in to the temple, and it's like packed. And Donavir comes over to me and he says, do you want to put sandalwood pulp on Prabhupada's forehead? And I said, sure I do. So that got me right into the temple. So Prabhupada comes in and he greets the deities and sits down. And I guess somebody urged me, okay, now it's time to do that. So I got up there and stood in front of the Vyasa-san, and Prabhupada leaned forward, and I put the sandalwood pulp on his forehead. And all I can remember was like sticking my hand in a wall socket or something like that. It was just like, it was electrifying. I don't know why. It was probably just all in my mind that this is Prabhupada and this was just really special. That was a special incident. And that was all. I just sat down and listened to class after that.
One time, Rameshwar Prabhu called us all into the temple room for an emergency ISKCON one evening and told us that Srila Prabhupada was in Hawaii, but he was very, very ill, and he was coming to Los Angeles that night, but no one should go to the airport and greet him. We should be very quiet around the temple. No one should try to ask for darshans or anything like that. Prabhupada was ill and he was coming to rest. We wouldn't see him at all. So at the end, he asked for questions, and my only service to Srila Prabhupada, a direct service, was to make these cookies that he gave out to the children. So I raised my hand and asked, well, should I make the cookies? And he immediately said, cookies? I've just been telling everybody that Srila Prabhupada's so ill. You think Prabhupada's going to give cookies to the children? And I just felt so bad. So then I went home and I was crying like anything, telling my husband, but it's It's my only service to Srila Prabhupada. And I guess to pacify me, he said, never mind, service is absolute. So you go ahead and make the cookies and bring them over, just as you usually do, bring them to Guru Puja. And later you could offer them to a picture of Srila Prabhupada and distribute them in the playground to the children. So that pacified me. And the next morning I got up early and I very carefully made the cookies. And I set them out in a beautiful silver plate. And I brought them over and tucked them behind the Vyasa-san. And nobody expected Srila Prabhupada to show up for Guru Puja. We knew he had arrived in the night, but we knew he was very ill. And just before the curtains were to open, suddenly the door to Srila Prabhupada's quarters opened, and there was Srila Prabhupada, looking so ill, and he was being held up by two people. And the curtains opened, and they laid him down to pay full dandavats in front of Shushiponi Tai. And they had to pick him up again. He was so weak, and they helped him again in front of Rukmini Dwarkadish and laid him down again, up and again in front of Lord Jagannath. And by that time, they were back at his door to go back to his quarters. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, there should be Guru Puja. And so they helped him up to his Vyasa-san. And so we had a very short Guru Puja. And then they climbed up to help him down, and Srila Prabhupada said, no, there should be class. And so then Srila Prabhupada gave class. And I remember that even though he was speaking into the microphone, you could hardly hear him because he was so weak, and he was sitting with his head, all like fallen forward. He was so weak. So then again, after a short class, they went to help him down again. And Srila Prabhupada said very audibly into the microphone, no, where are the cookies? The children are waiting for their cookies. And I went, oh, I've got the cookies. And I ran and brought the cookies. I was so happy. Srila Prabhupada remembered the children. He was so ill, but he had that heart for the children. And ill as he was, he waited till every last child, he'd given each one personally a cookie. And then he broke up the rest. By that time, there was a huge kirtan, and he threw the rest of the cookies out into the crowd of all the dancing brahmacharis, and everybody just went wild.
There are so many different sides of Prabhupada and qualities and characteristics. You couldn't count them all. And you always felt that Krishna was there speaking through Prabhupada. Prabhupada was giving gifts to Krishna. Very divine things were happening right in front of your eyes that you knew it was taking place, and you were just a witness to it. So in these scenes, as I recall, Prabhupada, he had visions of building temples, and they involved the transfer of funds. American BBT had become very successful, and Prabhupada had a formula from the very beginning. 50% of the money will be used for books, and the other 50% will be used for building temples. We had considered those buses as temples, traveling temples, so we were allowed to do that. But Prabhupada had this great grand vision of the whole world and the future, and laying the foundation for the movement throughout the world. And so he would, out of this vision, direct, in this case me, to understand what he wanted and understand where to transfer money, how to account for it, make sure it got to the right place and was used for the right purpose. And so some of this was done in correspondence, some of it was done in phone calls, and some of it, when I was fortunate enough, was done in person. When devotees requested Prabhupada's help to buy a farm, sometimes then the money would come from BBT. We were sending a lot of money to Mayapur, and we were sending a lot of money also to Bombay. So Prabhupada's vision was so all-encompassing and global. We didn't know what was going to come up next. We just knew that he had already seen everything, and now it was just unfolding, and he was letting us in on it, step by step. That's how we experienced Prabhupada building up the movement. I wouldn't even use the word business because it just doesn't do justice to what was really happening, this great grand vision. And Prabhupada just directing like a conductor in an orchestra, all the pieces to fall into place gradually. But he had already seen it, but it's full composition, grand performance, and we weren't there yet. Prabhupada already saw it completed, and you just got that sense that you were dealing with Prabhupada in the past, and present, and future, just blended together.
I had gone to America to form a little collecting party for Mayapur. So in Los Angeles, Prabhupada had arrived from somewhere, and he was up in his quarters, and most of the devotees had gone out on chanting on Sankirtan. And I was staying in a room opposite the temple, and I was looking out at the temple and at the dusk, you know, at the evening star, and I was thinking, geez, I'd like to go up and see Prabhupada, but I don't want to just kind of burst in on him. And just as I was thinking that, Upendra came walking out of the temple across the street, and he looked up and he saw me and he was waving me to come. I opened the window and he said, "Oh, Prabhupada wants to see you." So I went up to see Prabhupada, and it was very sweet, very quiet, and Prabhupada wanted to know about Mayapur, and we were talking about Mayapur, and he was saying how he used to visit the Chaitanya Math, but it was very difficult for him because when he visited the Chaitanya Math, he'd have to stay in the room with all the brahmacharis on a choki bed, and he said their noses were always working. He said, "This world is a horrible place, but Lord Krishna said to me, you come down and write those books." And I said, "Oh, I do not want to go there. It is a horrible place." And Lord Krishna said, no, you come down and write those books. I will take care of everything. And I said, no, I do not want to go there. But he insisted, you come down and write those books. I will take care of everything. So he said, you just see how Krishna has taken care of everything for me. That was a great revelation, an extraordinary thing that Prabhupada was saying. And I looked at Upendra and he looked at me, and it was just like electric, the atmosphere.
Prabhupada would have a group of devotees come and sit, and Shyam Sundar would tell the different philosophies of the different philosophers for the philosophy book to be compiled. So while we were waiting for the class to start in Prabhupada's room, I was sitting right in front of Prabhupada's desk, and Prabhupada was sitting at his desk, and I was chanting my rounds, and I was chanting very nicely and very attentively, and I was pronouncing very properly, and I was chanting out loud. And I was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, again and again and again. Prabhupada had been very quiet, and at a certain point, Prabhupada raised his voice, and just from total silence, Prabhupada said, "No sound," and raised his hand up in the air with his palm probably about 2 or 3 inches from my face. And all my pride in trying to please him by my nice chanting was just totally shattered. What I understood from that is that one shouldn't make a show of their chanting in front of the spiritual master. You're supposed to chant on the side, not showing off, chanting for your own purification and calling out to Krishna to please engage us in his service, but especially not to make a show of our chanting.